For almost half a century, a smiling man stood on a Vancouver corner and made a living capturing the river of people flowing through Vancouver's downtown. Street photographer Foncie Pulice was the eye of Vancouver. He made the ordinary extraordinary, every passerby a star.
We stood on these corners, you know, as people walked by. We had a camera that could take multitudes of pictures, and we handed out a card, and the next day they could go and see a proof, and if they liked it, they would have a picture of them walking along Granville Street.
The 1930s Vancouver, a shiny new city filling up with people from everywhere else. They arrived from foreign corners of the world to start a fresh life in this vibrant new place. Photography was a special but affordable way to record these new moments, new beginnings.
Quite honestly, it was simpler times. People have such fond memories of their youth. Those pictures are just a shining example of what that was.
Foncie Pulice was himself from an immigrant family, originally from Italy. Francesco and Filomena Pulice made British Columbia home for their expanding family. 4 girls and baby Alfonso.
You can imagine the excitement when after 3 daughters, finally the magical son appears. Foncie was very cosseted and petted in his early years, so maybe that has something to do with the way he related to people.
He had this personality, always this big smile, and he did have sort of a booming voice, but that was Foncie.
Vancouver was a swelling city that created work for the young and motivated. At 20, Foncie, a dedicated house painter, was on the prowl for something else. He wanted employment that matched his socially adept personality. A friend of the family suggested street photography. You meet a lot of girls. Foncie pounced.
Got taking pictures in 1935 for a man called Joe Aesi.
And so it started. Foncie's job, snapping street photos, began sealing in memories of life and people in a growing port town. He took millions of photos on that Vancouver sidewalk. They capture a movement, a moment in time, and in each photo, a story in the lives of British Columbians.
Marjorie Scotland, my grandmother, raised her 3 daughters in East Vancouver in the 1920s. Her husband spent each summer working on the SS Klondike in the Yukon.
My mother worked in Woodward's as a seamstress in ladies' apparel. She would travel from our house in West Vancouver and catch the 8 o'clock ferry to work downtown.
In the 30s, there were about 6 companies. We were in every corner on Granville, when Granville was Granville, not like it is now. It was busy, there were stores along the way, and it was beautiful.
This is the National News Bulletin, a summary of the day's news. The largest convoy ever to set out across the Atlantic Ocean from Canada has arrived in Britain. Scores of ships unloaded their cargo.
On September 1st, 1939, 9 days before the Canadian declaration of war, the Seaforth Highlanders received orders to mobilize. Vancouver mobilized. In a single week, the regiment recruited its full wartime strength. The lads were bound for Europe and the front line.
Silk stockings were in short supply because the silk was used for parachutes, and stockings were a low priority. Even at 21, I was still wearing ankle socks.
I know what's in that bag my mother's carrying. There's a bottle of liquor. Liquor was rationed during the war, and so although we didn't drink much, you wanted to have liquor on hand if there was a special event.
Foncie was capturing Vancouver a click at a time while entertaining the ladies, enjoying life. But the persistent call of the European front compelled him to leave his photographs and the ladies. He joined the army. Wartime Foncie yearned for a future back in Canada. A future with a particularly beautiful and driven woman, Anne Palella. In a letter, Anne noted, "A competing street photographer is selling his camera." She queried him, "Should I buy it for you?" Foncie leapt, "Yes."
My mother was at that point still his girlfriend, and she actually funded him the money to buy his first camera.
It was a very good camera. You could take 1,500 pictures and individual pictures. It was run by a car battery.
The woman of his photo-perfect dreams with a business head to boot. That sealed their marriage and career. So here he is, a regular guy with a regular job, snapping hundreds, thousands, and yes, eventually millions of pictures. Photograph after photograph, 6 days a week into the evenings, not aware of the role he was to play in capturing our family's lives, creating magic as he snapped the moment, often catching the image before anyone was ready. Capturing the regular person, creating regular magic.
He captured that moment in your life. Doesn't matter whether you're by yourself or whether you're with a friend, but you look back at that picture now and you think, wow, yeah, that was a time in my life, and you know, what a great experience it was then. And I think that's the whole thing about Foncie's photos. That's what he's done for people.
There were a lot fewer cameras and people didn't often take pictures. What's nice about this picture is it's just natural. We don't even seem to be aware of the camera.
When my father was 13 years old, he decided to take an unscheduled day off from school. Foncie snapped this picture and handed him a claim ticket, which he put in his jacket pocket and quickly forgot about. Later, his mother found the ticket and claimed the photo. Undeniable evidence of skipping school. He still remembers the licking he got.
Downtown Vancouver was different during his time there. It was certainly more of a place for people to gather than it seems to be now. It was just a place to go and be seen, and men wore suits and hats when they went out, and women were all dressed to the nines. That was where the action was. Granville Street was where it was at. Uncle Foncie, he had a way about him that was very easy.
Didn't differentiate between people who were approaching him. Didn't matter what walk of life they were. Click. They were on film.
Anyone he would meet, he was interested in what they were doing and how they did it, and did they enjoy it, and you know, were their lives happy, and it was just the way he was.
Here I am, heading for the pool hall, trying to look cool with my smoke in hand and pretending I don't see the camera. Check out the cuffs on the Cowboy King jeans that were the in style of the day.
November 26, 1955, the evening just after the first Grey Cup game ever played in Vancouver. It was bedlam along Granville Street, and I'm there with my friends enjoying the festivities.
I'm astounded. For the first time, I have all my Foncie photos in one place, in a timeline I have never seen before and I've never, ever given any thought to. The pictures have been scattered for years in sundry photo albums and boxes. Looking for the pictures has been so worthwhile. They not only show historical snapshots of Vancouver, but for me, they graphically show a very important piece of my own history, from bobby socks and saddle shoes to nylons and high heels.
Through the 1950s, the streets of Vancouver were stuffed with clothing, shoppers, and children. Foncie's life mirrored the city's. He and Anne were ready to build their own family. And in 1953, son Anthony joined the family portrait. Daughter Diane came into the picture a few years later. Foncie and Anne were now parents, as well as successful business partners. He spent his time off entertaining his large group of family and friends. Always the life of the party, always generous.
Our parties where everybody had to do something, tell a joke or recite a poem, or sing a song.
We were a family that had a lot of beautiful singers, and Uncle Foncie was one of the best.
Foncie's voice, he was a crooner and a half.
He liked to have a good time. He liked to have a glass of wine or two. He liked to sing. He loved to have people around him, family, friends. He just loved to be in amongst a group of people.
Happy Easter to my family.
But when the company went home, the family home turned back into the photo factory.
He did most of his developing and processing at our house in our basement, and that meant I worked too. So it was work. It was a lot of work.
If you could hold a piece of paper and smile and hand it out to somebody, you worked for Uncle Foncie. He had everybody working for him.
I used to have about 3 companies at the time, and I hired fellows. In one day, between myself and 3 other fellows, we'd get maybe 7,000 to 8,000 pictures a day.
It's one thing to snap a photo, and quite another to charm someone into buying it.
He was so engaging with people.
He was very good at making them want to have their picture taken.
He would sometimes just say, "Oh, you look absolutely gorgeous. Just want to step back and I'll take another picture of you."
He actually assessed the situation, and he took the pictures that he felt were the ones that were going to sell.
And if they smiled for me, I would, that would be great. I would take their picture. And if they didn't, and they didn't want the picture, you never know, you may be with another man's wife, you don't want your picture taken.
Foncie was in tune with people, in tune with the times, in tune with the art he was creating and the community he was a part of. So in tune that it was just life for him. He made people feel special, a star. A day later, he handed them their bright moment. 8 copies for $1, memories of their stardom.
Sort of a thrill. People got used to the idea that he was there, and that they made a point of going down there just to have their picture taken.
This is a picture of my father. He worked part-time for Foncie, usually in the evening on Granville Street's Theatre Row. The camera was positioned in such a way that you knew as soon as the customer's foot crossed a seam or crack in the sidewalk, they were in frame. No focusing required. A quick click, and then you handed them the ticket.
You shoot that much negative, you have no place to store it. So eventually, after 1 or 2 years, we would get rid of it.
So there were no archival copies anywhere. All these memories are sealed in the photos, framed on a mantle, tucked between the pages of a book, or hidden in a drawer. It's fitting that Foncie's unwitting art exhibition of people's lives unfolding on our city streets lies across the population in the hands and memories of his people.
I was leaving the Bay where I worked to rush over to Lionsgate Hospital, where my wife was giving birth to our first child. Fonzie stuck his hand out and gave me a slip. The baby arrived later that day, and the picture arrived by post a week later.
We were all taking the barbering course at Vancouver Vocational Institute, and the customers coming for their 15-cent haircuts would usually tip us a dime. So, at the end of the day, we'd have enough money for a few beers on the way home. We liked to spread our newfound wealth around the town. I think we went looking for Foncie that night.
I used to get families down every year, you know, they'd come down Granville, their photo from Foncie.
A lot of families, that's the only photos they have of their great-grandparents or grandparents. That's what that man did. It was really important work what he did.
What Foncie actually gave me when I looked at that picture was he gave me my dad back.
Everywhere I go, I see Foncie's photos. Friends' homes I walk into, there's a picture of Foncie's photo on their dining room cabinet, or I'm all like, oh my God, that's my father-in-law took that.
You look back at the photographs, the style of clothing changed, the architecture of Vancouver changed so much. It's all on record on these photographs.
I still remember some of the titles in that bag of records under my brother's left arm. Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Waters and the just-released solo debut by Paul McCartney. Those were magical days, and I'm eternally grateful to Foncie for freezing one such moment for all time.
The soft and simple 60s slipped away as the 70s plowed into Vancouver, ushering in a new era of business and development.
I had just emigrated from England. My first job in Vancouver was at the Hudson's Bay Data Center. That was where I met my new friends, Arlene and Robin. That was 43 years ago. It would be great to see them again.
It was 1975, and my then girlfriend met me for lunch in Vancouver. I ended up marrying that girl, and she still looks that good today.
To have a photograph taken of you as you're just being yourself, I think it's something very special. You know, it doesn't happen that often.
In this day of digital cameras where you can take 100 pictures and delete 98 of them, those pictures just endure.
New downtown malls were sucking pedestrians off the sidewalks and putting an affordable camera in every hand. The era of the street photographer was ending.
But after 79, it was all over. It was finished.
He was a solid figure there for 40 some odd years.
I think he captured Vancouver on those black and whites.
We have something really memorable to keep with us for a long time.
Just a regular guy, never dreamed he was an artist. Took thousands of shots a day and dumped his negatives once a year. No archives, just single prints kept in albums, fireproof safes, and shoe boxes under the bed. A story in every photo. The simple art of the everyday.
When the deep purple falls over sleepy garden walls, and the stars begin to flicker in the sky, through the mist of a memory, you wander back to me, breathing my name with a sigh. In the still of the night, once again I hold you tight. Though you're gone, your love lives on while moonlight beams. And as long as my heart will beat, lover, we'll always meet here in my deep purple dreams.